Hey, and welcome everybody. This is Pastor Sherman Ray, and this is Christ and Culture, the show. I want to thank you all for being a part of the broadcast today. Hope everybody's doing well. It's actually a full new president-elect week. I guess that would be the word for it. I don't know what to say. It's been very cool. We're very excited, folks, that the election is over with. I know many of you are probably still just reeling as a result of the election, and probably just so happy that you don't get any more mail. Any more that mail that we were getting. And if you were like me and my family, you probably got 10,000 text messages at the last moment. So we're just happy that's over with. But that's what we're going to be talking about today, too. We're talking about the new president, the direction of the country, and a look back. But before we do that, I want to remind you, if you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and let us know that you love us and that you're so excited that we're on. I'd love to get a hold of you. Also, if you're listening to us on Godstream.org, thank you so much for being a part of the Godstream network, and we thank you for being a part of that. Well, what would Christ and Culture be without my partner in crime, Tommy Allums? And Tommy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Pastor Sherman. How are you?
Another beautiful week. I just the weather here in Vegas is actually, it's starting to turn. The weather's starting to turn a little bit, But so, did you have a good week this last week too? Was it a nail biter for you also with the election?
It was pretty clear from the beginning. um, it was pretty clear. It wasn't necessarily a nail biter, but it's always that anticipation of, okay, what are they going to make the announcement of what actually took place? So, but yeah.
Now, let me ask you, because I just finally met your wife like a couple of weeks ago. So excited about meeting your wife. Now, is she politically motivated or astute? Does she get involved in that stuff too?
No, but she is happy with the outcome.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. Yeah. Well, my wife is like, um, she was probably up till like 11 or something like that. And she was like, I don't want to go to bed. I don't know what's going to happen, and so she was like not happy with this at all, and would have stayed up till 1 o'clock in the morning until they called the race, and I think we did the same thing 4 years ago. We did the same thing 4 years ago, and I think we did same thing 4 years before that too. So it is what it is. So a lot of talk about the election in your circles also.
Yeah, it's pretty much everywhere. On both sides of the fence, I hear it all. But yeah, there's been a lot of talk about it.
Yeah, yeah. This is going to be, and it's probably going to be that way for the next, I don't know, next 4 years. It probably
Three
will be.
months.
Yeah, yeah. Next 3 months. Yeah, definitely. Until because right now the president, the new. So for those of you that may not have figured out what's going on, the America just had our every 4 years we have an election for the president, certain Senate seats, that kind of stuff. And Donald Trump is now the president-elect. He's number 47. He was number 45. Now he's number 47. And so people are praying about this for months. I mean, praying that the country would see a shift, and it did in a seismic way. Now, Pastor Trump, before we go on with the show, I mean, did you think that it was going to be as such a lopsided electoral thing, or was it pretty much in line with what you thought it was going to be?
I was deceived by the news. It was a close race. You know, the news just said that every day. It's so close. You know, Kamala's up, so yeah, it was. It exceeded what I thought was going to happen.
Yeah, I was like, man, I didn't think it was going to be that close. I thought it was going to be a lot closer. I really did. Like you said, the pundits were all saying that it was going to be a nail biter. It was going to come down to the last vote. But then all of a sudden, it was almost like 2016 all over again. I mean, it really was. The only difference was is you didn't see. No, I guess you did see the TikTok videos of people just screaming. They were so upset that they had lost, and it's like, and I think that's the difference between men and women of faith and people who put their faith in man, in that they are
Yeah.
just like devastated as a result of this election,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
if Kamala Harris had won, I'll tell you, we'd have probably still been doing just fine. I mean, we would not have been happy because we would have probably, seen some things that we didn't see were right. But it wasn't like it's going to stop us from living,
Right. Or
yeah,
moving out of the country.
or moving out of the country. Because there's a lot of people who said, "Oh, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move out of the country." And
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of a
Yeah.
scary, scary place to be at. Um, well, before we go any further, I just want to remind everybody that if you're watching the show for the first time, this is Christ and Culture, and we encourage you to go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel, that kind of stuff, and we'd love for you guys to know what we're doing and keep us in your thoughts and prayers as we move forward. Pastor Tommy here. Our first story here is about Trump's victory. It says it'll throw a bombshell into Israel's multi-front campaign or an analysis. And this is an interesting story. This is out of the Jerusalem Post, and the story basically says President-elect Donald Trump's comeback victory Tuesday weakens diplomatic efforts to end Israel's multi-front war in the short term and calls into question U.S. long-term support for Israel's military campaigns against Iran and its proxies. This is an interesting story. I'm just going to read down just a little bit on this. It's the equivalent of a diplomatic bombshell, it says, whose chilling effects will be felt almost immediately, and which already seems to freeze such ceasefire efforts. Trump's policies on all issues relating to Gaza, Lebanon, and Iran will be diametrically different than his predecessor, U.S. President Joe Biden. And this is where the crux of it all comes down to. It says that knowledge alone creates chaos in a war. Where'd it go? Chaos in a war in which the U.S. has taken the diplomatic lead in ceasefire initiatives and backed Israel on the diplomatic stage. It has also headed a defensive military coalition that protects Israel from Iranian missile attacks and has supported Israel with military weaponry. Now, this is the interesting thing about it is that you've got people who, this is kind of what it's been saying. They're saying that because the policies of Donald Trump are so different than those of the Biden administration, that the Iranians are looking differently, the folks in Gaza are looking differently, and they're all going, "Oh my gosh, what's this crazy cowboy going to do?" So, I mean, what do you see happening here as far as people looking at now Trump coming in office and how they're going to react to it? I mean, what do you see in the Middle East? Do you see people going, "Oh, it's just as usual," or I mean, what do you think is going to happen now?
No, they're definitely not going. It's usual. We've had a number of things just you know have the brakes put on. Like, for one, Iran said they were going to retaliate against Israel, but they have yet to do so since the election, and they haven't been saying anything about that. Um, the other thing is the Qataris, who were the mediators between Israel and Hamas, um, they pulled out and they sent the leadership of Hamas out of the country. Go figure.
Go figure that. It's like, oh my gosh, this is this is like a seismic shift, right? In the
Yes.
way people are thinking. So the Middle East, we know, is going to be affected because Donald Trump is such an advocate for Israel.
Mhm.
What do you think is going to happen with Putin? What do you think is going to happen with China? How do you think people are going to react to now Donald Trump being back in? The new marshal is back in town.
Well, they're going to be a lot less aggressive Um, just based on from what I've seen so far, it seems like Putin is willing to spend some time with Trump and talk with him. Um, he seems to have a better relationship with Trump than our current administration. I did see President Xi from China kind of warn Trump about Taiwan. Um, we will see. I don't think anything is going to happen with absolute certainty when he comes in the office, as far as the foreign policies and the events overseas. I don't think that's going to continue the way that it has been continuing in this particular administration. There's definitely a change. There's going to be a slowdown in the aggression worldwide. Um, and yeah, let's just hope that we have a little bit more time to kind of live a better life than what was coming down the road for us.
I've got a question for you because this occurred to me is that we as Christians, I think we take things for granted. I think we take our freedoms for granted. I think because we were at the last 4 years have probably been probably the most eye-opening time in American history, where we're seeing an onslaught because the Biden administration, which is still in office right now, has a totally different look on reality, and we're going to talk about it later in the show. But they have a whole different set of rules that they live by. They believe that left is right and right is left and up is down and boys are girls. And you touched on this. You said that we've got a couple of years to have a good life and stuff like that. What do you think the church? And I don't know. We didn't prepare you for this, but I think it's maybe something we want to think about. Is what do you think the church should be doing in the next 4 years? To advance the gospel? What do you think the church should be doing in the next 4 years to prepare themselves and to take advantage of an open door? Because right now, the last 4 years, it's been closed. Economically, yes, but spiritually, definitely. And now we're seeing a whole reversal. The Republicans are going to be in office. They're going to have the White House and both houses of Congress. So if there's going to be an open door, this is going to be the time. So, I mean, give me your thoughts. Where should the church be on this, you think?
I think that we saw answers to prayers. And I pointed this out in a previous show that President Trump had people praying for him. He welcomed prayer. He asked for prayer. I've been on at least 2 prayer phone calls with him, and we've been in meetings where we pray for him and the leadership. Um, and it's almost like God heard our prayer because we interceded for our country. We interceded for the leaders, and it's almost like God heard our prayer and answered our prayer. And so, with that, I would say continue to pray. Right, continue to pray for our leaders and those in authority, and pray for us that God's kingdom will come. And then here's the part that Christians got to do something: be doers of the word. We have to be doers of the word. So many, and God's been stirring up within me about doing more. And I even asked God the other day, "Where's my fruit, God? What fruit do I have for you?" We take that for granted.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
we
yes,
take that.
yes. Where's my fruit? Sure, yeah.
Yeah. So, to answer your question, for believers to pray and be doers of the word, and find out where God would have you so that you could produce fruit for Him.
Yeah, I think you're so right. Yeah, because it was such a wake-up call. Because who would have thunk, just by electing a president, getting him in office, would unleash the whirlwind? Because when Biden got in office, all of a sudden the country got shut down. That was one. That should have probably been the call we all went, wait, what happened here? I mean, the whole country shut down. And then as it was opening up, it was almost like a green light for them to go ahead and do whatever they wanted to do. And they basically did. And they ran roughshod over our rights, our freedoms, and these last 4 years have been a wake-up call. So I'm hoping as Christians begin to look at this a little bit more, they go, man, like you said, Pastor Tommy, where's my fruit? What am I doing? Actually, not even where my fruit, maybe even before that, is have I even been planting a seed? have I been doing anything? Because for a vast majority of people, they haven't even done anything. So, wow. Well, we shall see. There was a story, and for those of you, this might be your first time checking out the show. I'm Pastor Sherman, this is Pastor Tommy, and we're partners in crime, Christ and Culture show. Talk about things, trending news, and how we as Christians can actually be effective in the culture. And so we've seen a shift. So I'm very excited about it. This next story is about Florida. And Florida is seeing some interesting things going on in they're banning books, which is kind of an interesting thing we see. Lawmakers, and this story is a SRN News story, and it said lawmakers in the state recently passed a measure requiring that schools no longer expose students. I didn't know this. They had a problem with this. They expose students to pornographic content or items that promote homosexuality. It turns out that there's a lot of it out there. And the Tallahassee Democrat reports that more than 4,000 books have been removed from school libraries, most of which were pornographic or featured LGBTQ themes. This is scary, Pastor. I mean, this is kind of a scary thing where you think to yourself that my kid goes to a school and that more than likely he's going to be, exposed to some kind of pornographic thing. Pastor Tommy, when you heard about this, I mean, what did you think in Tallahassee that there would be that many? 4,000 books. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Just imagine how many is in California. So, it is shocking, but it is at the same time, there's a community library here that I take my daughter to, and they're all over. And it's enough to stir up questions. And so, parents are having to have these conversations at a much younger age than anticipated. And so, that is good for Florida to be pulling them off, because we as parents, especially us as believers, we're supposed to point our kids to Jesus, train them up in the way they should go, right? And Jesus even said himself, suffer the little children to come unto me and forbid them not, you know. But these schools are literally turning them away from God, which makes parenting more difficult for us who have kids. And I think it's a great thing for them to um, pull them from the public schools. If people want their kids to learn about it, then they can teach them at home, but it shouldn't be forced, to on kids to do book reports and book summaries. I don't agree with that at all.
Yeah, this is kind of a scary place to be at too. I work in a school, and so I look at kids' grades all the time, and kids have enough time learning to reading and writing and arithmetic. I mean, they really do. I've seen more F's on. You think it's like a Scrabble thing. It's just, but they forgot all the other letters. Just F, 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 and so now they're introducing stuff to kids that they can't even comprehend. The basic things. I've got kids who ask me,
Right.
Well, what does the word courage mean?
Yeah.
Well, kid doesn't know what the word courage means, but they want to teach them all about LGBTQ plus LMNOP. So this is a scary place to be at. But I think it also goes back to what we've talked about before, is that Satan tries to get at our kids. You know, he either he wants to abort them, or he wants to control them and reproduce himself through our kids. And that's kind of the scary part about it. So bravo to, so it's not just in Florida. I mean, these are other states that are doing the same thing. This might be one of those areas that for the next 4 years that there's a concerted effort by Christendom to get these books out of our schools, because
I'm sure there is.
Yeah, because we're not going to get rid of the public school thing. We probably won't get rid of it anytime soon, but we can have our influence on this. So bravo to those parents that did that.
Yes. More states to come, hopefully.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, there's actually a couple of groups here in Las Vegas, and maybe we'll send out a newsletter, because we're going to start. I think we're going to starting up a news line. So if you'd like to be on our newsletter, go ahead and write us at christandcultureshow@gmail.com. That's christandcultureshow@gmail.com, and we'll put you on our mailing list. And we'd like to see if we can get people to start getting them activated, because I don't know if you knew this, Pastor Tommy, but only 20% of the church is even involved in any capacity other than walking in the doors, which means they don't vote. They don't, they're probably not even the ones who come to what do they call it, a bake sale and bring anything. You know what I mean? They just kind of show up. So to get them motivated, so we've got to get people more motivated to actually do things in the church, because you can imagine 70% of America says that they're Christian, and yet only 20% of the church even votes. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, once again, folks, if you would like to get on our mailing list, just go ahead and write to me. Write to us at christandcultureshow@gmail.com, and we'd love to get you on that mailing list. Pastor Tom, did you hear that story? There's a story about the deportation that Donald Trump is going to be doing. This is very, this is where the rubber hits the road. And Donald Trump is a major part of his platform that he said what he's going to do is that he's going to deport illegals. And this was not just a campaign slogan. This was a big thing where he said, hey, you know what? We're going to get as many people out of here who came into the country illegally. And they said that now some estimates put the number over 10 million, but there's going to be. But here's the thing about it is there's other people that are worried about this. And this story is out of Christianity Today, and it says Trump's promised mass deportations put immigrant churches on edge. And this is interesting. I don't know if you heard this story before, but Jackson Voltaire, a pastor who leads a fellowship of 255 Haitian Baptist churches in Florida, prayed a personal blessing for Donald Trump the day after the election. Very nice. But Voltaire also met to pray with leaders of his churches who were worried about what might happen to Haitians' legal status in the country. We may tell people not to worry, but for most of them, there is a cause to worry, Voltaire said. But when we fix our eyes on Jesus, the worry starts to dissipate. The strength and comfort we find in God's promises are stronger than the fear. And I'll read this last part. President-elect Donald Trump made mass deportation a central part of his campaign, promising to remove millions of immigrants from the United States, including Haitians. The official Republican Party platform vows to carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. Now, here's the deal on this whole thing, is that President Trump, as a part of what he was saying, or I should say this, Haitians actually are here as a legitimately. And I think that's the thing that gets everybody, is that they have a legitimate reason for being here because their country is just war and torn. Unlike some of the other folks that are here that are here just because they want to have a good job. And yet part of the plank and part of the mandate that Donald Trump is saying that he's going to do was that Haitians were going to be swept up in this. And so it's given people pause to think that, is this really fair? Is this throwing the baby out with the bathwater too. Give me your thoughts on that, Pastor Tommy.
You pointed out the interesting about this is because the Haitians come from a war-torn country,
Mm-hmm.
um, their status is legal.
Mm-hmm.
I think if they are really here legally, the ones that are legal, I think that if this pastor and a couple of other advocates can voice that opinion, I'm sure that President Trump would make the right decision.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because of that set of circumstances. I think the news clippings of some of the things that were said about the Haitians, um, a couple of months ago, I think that could play into it also as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but they have to learn our culture if they're going to be here, because we have a different culture. Every country has a different culture. Um, and so that they have to learn that. Um, but yeah, I think that if they create the proper level of advocacy, I think that they'll be safe. But all the ones who are here illegally, I don't condone it
Yeah.
for illegal people to be here. I've traveled to many countries. I've had to get visas. I've had to wait in line. I've had to pay the money. I've had to go through the process to get into other countries just to visit, not to live, right? And so, you know, for um for people to be here illegally, I think it's unfair for Americans. And I did see the New York cut the some of the free money that they were given uh, to the illegals there.
I saw that. Yeah, they did. They had those prepaid debit cards and stuff like that. Where do these guys get prepaid debit cards? I mean, my gosh, there's
Who's
Americans
paying
that,
for that?
yeah,
Yeah,
Americans are paying that.
I know, right?
Man,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's funny. The Bible talks about welcoming foreigners, right? It talks about opening your
Hmm.
arms and stuff like that. I don't know where in Scripture where it says that you are to allow your country to be you know taken advantage of and people just to come here and illegally. I mean, America is a very unique place in that America is not a color. America is not a language.
Hmm.
America is not a lot of things. America is a culture where people learn our culture and the American culture. And unless you understand that, excuse me, it doesn't matter whether you're just here because you got here. You're not an
Hmm.
American, and I think it's really unfair to people to come here. They travel here from Honduras and all these other countries, and they walk hundreds of miles, or 1,000 miles, whatever it is, to get here, and they expect to be like, oh, I'm an American now. I go, well, no, you're not.
Yeah,
You're not an American at all. Because the first thing you did was you broke our laws to get here, to get
right.
into our country. I just don't. I think it's. I'm wondering if it was unfair to allow these people to come here in the first place because you're setting them
Oh,
up for
absolutely.
failure.
Yeah, absolutely. It not only set them up for failure, but it also set up people who are lower than the middle class, let's say, even possibly the middle class, sets them up for failure also. Because people who are, and even the veterans and the homeless, the veterans were kicked out of their residences. These are men and women who gave their life for their country, who were in battle. Some of them have uh, what do you call that? They have PTS injuries. Yeah, they have VA injuries, and so these people literally laid down their life and they literally walked in the country and got the veterans kicked out, and they were just living like it's no big deal. I'm here. I deserve this. And meanwhile, you got homeless veterans. Yeah, I'm a veteran, so I take that to heart.
Well, thank you for your service too. That's and that's the scary part about it, is like you said, and I know in Colorado, and this was late in the election cycle, we find out that these Venezuelan gangs went to Colorado, took over a couple of, hotels, or not hotel, apartment buildings. And it's like, oh my, and that's just really the tip of the iceberg, because now they're going all across the country. I think you endanger your country by doing this. It's unfair to the people who just came here just because they want a better way of life. But then, the big picture is you're endangering the country. I mean, you really are. My wife and I talked about this. We talked about this a number of years ago, probably close to 10 years ago. We talked about this, that the reason why there's such an emphasis on our southern border was because at the time we were battling against ISIS and Al Qaeda, those factions, and it is very hard to tell the difference between somebody from the Middle East as opposed to a Hispanic person. I mean, it's not impossible, of course. I mean, it's not at all.
Right.
But at a glance, you're not going to be able to say, oh, that's guy's from Honduras as opposed to that guy's from the Middle East someplace. So you have a checkpoint. You have places. You have to document these people. You have to vet these people. And I don't think the people coming up here from those places, Honduras, Venezuela, they don't understand it. That you're endangering the place that you are coming to by being a part of by mass coming on trains and these people jumping in between you guys. You're carrying these people up here because have you heard the number of terrorists who were on the watch list who actually came in with all these people?
Wasn't there like a high number? Like I don't remember what the number was, but
I
it
don't
was high.
remember it, but it's high because it only took 19 of them to take down the Twin Towers. So you can imagine 100, 1,000, because there's 10 million people came across that border. I mean, 10 million. You're figuring probably at least 100,000 of them could be terrorists.
Yeah.
That's enough to cripple our entire country.
It is.
It's a scary place to be. It's just a simply scary place to be at. So I'm just so glad that they're going to get this under control, and hopefully, like you said, that there's an advocate for the folks of Haiti, because they actually have a legitimate beef. I mean, they have a legitimate cause. Their country, they don't have a functioning government, and so it'd be great if America just could annex Haiti.
Yeah, I wonder why that hasn't happened though already. I mean,
I don't think they would mind. You become part of America. You all good with that? Yeah. Yeah. We'd love to be part of America. Thank you so much. Yeah. Maybe we should write into the Trump administration and say, "Could you do that? Just make them part of America." Well, folks, I want to thank you all for being a part of the show right now. This is a Christ and Culture show. I'm Pastor Sherman. This is Pastor Tommy. Oh, pointing the other direction. And we're partners in crime here, folks. We're partners here on this show, bringing some of the latest breaking news that's out there that we hope that you guys are just, gobbling up, because we really need to stay aware of what's going on in the culture and how we as Christians could actually, can benefit from this. Pastor Tommy, have you ever heard of a show like ours, that's been on in the last 10 years?
No,
or so?
not quite like this. Nope.
Yeah, see, and so there's nothing else like this out there, folks. So that's the reason why you should listen to this and let everybody else know about it. You can actually get this broadcast on YouTube, of course, Instagram, Facebook, on Spotify, also on Apple Podcast, and of course on Godstream.org. Okay, Godstream.org is just a fantastic site, and we hope that you will continue to be on there with us, because it's a blessing. It really is. This next article, Pastor Tommy, is it's talking about, this one's actually from the New York Post, and it says Trump's stunning comeback victory has cured America of the woke virus. This is very interesting. So I don't know if you know what's going on with the woke virus, but it's definitely something that has hit our country with a permutation that you just wouldn't believe. So here's the story. The story says Kamala is for. Oh, I got it. says Kamala. Though it says there were the 10 words that sealed the comeback deal for Donald Trump. Kamala is for them or they. President Trump is for you. I don't know if you remember seeing this past showing, but it says the campaign ad first unleashed a week after Trump lost his only TV debate with Kamala Harris back in September. The ad focused on two things: a 2019 clip of Kamala Harris endorsing the use of taxpayer money, get this, to fund sex change surgery for transgender prison inmates, and her ongoing support of trans athletes competing in women's sports. This is interesting. The New York Times reported that the ad broke through in Mr. Trump's testing to an extent that stunned some of his aides, which means basically that when they saw this, they said, "Oh my gosh, I cannot believe this! This is like trending big time. It's going to make a huge difference." And this is what happened. So they poured millions of dollars into blasting it across American TV airwaves, including during big football matches. You can imagine people seeing this on these football matches. This provoked Charlemagne, the false god. I say that euphemistically. It prompted him to say something very interesting to his black listeners on the Breakfast Club. It says Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners. He said, and he exclaimed on air after playing the ad. He says, "Heck no!" He didn't. He said something else, but he said, "Heck no! I don't want my taxpayer dollars going for that." The gleeful Trump team promptly re-edited the ad and using Charlemagne's comments at the top, and it blew up even bigger. Now, I know, Pastor Tommy, you probably saw this commercial where it was Kamala who was saying, "Oh, she's for transgender sex changes for prisoners," but it resonated big time. And as a result of this, you've got company after company now saying, "No, we're done with it. We're done with the whole woke thing because it is so divisive and it's so stupid." I guess it is so stupid for us as a country to bend over to this ideology that is so it's so divisive. Your thoughts on that, Pat?
Well, I'm so glad at 57 years old I don't have to study English and relearn my pronouns. I learn them differently than I was taught, so I'm grateful for that. But you know, the, the word woke, that's just it makes me chuckle. Um, but we still have a lot of prayer that's needed because they've been pretty quiet here lately. And I know, we have a new president elect. Um, and the other side didn't do as well as they thought they would do, but they're really quiet. Like I get this sense that they're behind the scenes trying to work something out. Like, okay, now plan B. This is what we're gonna do now. Um, so this is really a time for us to pray. But I am so glad that we have this reprieve. Um, um, for however long it is. If it's the whole 4 years, then praise God. If it's just a short time, we'll take even that. But we really gotta continue to pray um, about this situation, and hopefully in this time we can create policies and begin to re-educate people about the importance of life, about the importance of having a working economy um, for Americans here in America. I think if we focus on that, then we could probably win more people over to a mind of reality instead of some other made up. I don't even know what to call it. I couldn't even imagine how they came up with these ideas. I just can't even figure it out.
Well, the one thing that they came up with the idea, but number two, that people fell for it, and people they were creating laws. I mean, laws that said if you don't call me thee, them, thou, whatever.
Yeah.
If there were people running around going, "I'm a wolf," people are going around saying I'm a gnome. I want to marry my dog, and people are going, oh, okay, that sounds good, and it's like, are you out of your mind? You know, the whole transgender thing, and we talk about the transgender, the sexual dysphoria thing quite a bit, not because we want to make fun of anybody, guys. And I want to preface this by, before I even say anything else, we're not making fun of anybody. But it was a medically diagnosed malfunction is what that produced this whole transgender thing. But all of a sudden they go, oh no, it's not. It's real. And then you have the Biden administration hires a couple of guys, right? You got a guy who handled our nuclear waste. You got a guy who's like, I think he's the Surgeon General. I mean, I think the Surgeon General is a transgender guy, or the guy who's the head of the Navy. One of the two.
No, Surgeon General.
The Surgeon General. Okay, and it's like, and so, and it was an abject failure every single time. But they went out of their way to put these people in office, so they had a pulpit, he had a platform. And then the American people went, yes, we will, like robots, like going, yes, we will take it. We'll take it. Yes, go ahead. And that's the crazy thing about it. There was no pushback. Where was the church in all of this? Where were we? It's like, where did and now here's the thing. Remember the old guys, the Jerry Falwells, the Patrick Buchanan, guys like that. In the old days, they would be marching on Washington, going, you're out of your minds. We're not doing this. Yeah. But we didn't do that. What are we going to do the next 4 years? I don't think the church has a grace period. I don't think there's a honeymoon period for the church.
No, I don't either.
To sit back and go, it's so good. Oh, we're so glad. We're not under the oppression. I don't think the church has that grace period. We have got to get active like now and start doing, and because we don't know how long this is going to last, but we do know this.
Right, exactly.
Those on the left are not going to stop. They're not going to stop because they saw that they could do it. They saw they could be very successful at it, and they almost made a cottage industry out of wokeness.
Yeah, yeah. And it goes back to what I said earlier. We have to stay in prayer and be doers of the word and start living the word. Because when you live the word, then you can speak the word with boldness. People don't speak the word with boldness because they don't live it. When you live it, it's just going to come out of you. You don't have to, you won't be fearful of saying what the word says. You won't, shy away from telling the truth. So those two things are what's needed: prayer and being doers of the word.
Well, I'll tell you, if we don't do some doing. Now we've got a meeting. It drives me crazy. Well, and it's like people don't. There's a saying that says you don't miss your water until your well runs dry. It's an old saying, and Christians are just notorious about this. We think that we're just going to be fine. It'll be great. Jesus is coming back, so we're fine while we're here. I'm going, no, that's not the way it goes, guys. The word says that, yes, you will suffer. There's going to be some suffering. But nowhere in Scripture does it say, go ahead and just take it. Just keep taking it, okay? We fight. We fight against the devil. We've been given land. We've been given this earth. We've been given all these things, and we're co-heirs with Christ, which means that this, we can. There's some things we can do, folks, but I don't. But I keep going back to this. I don't think we have that grace period. I don't think we have that luxury of being able to sit back and go, "Oh, we're fine," and we'll just wait for Trump to do something, because Trump is a man, right? He's not God. And praying to God and asking God, what do you want us to do? I definitely think is a first order of the day, but getting active when we have a chance. Wow. Well, thank you. Once again, I want to thank everybody who's watching the show. This is Christ in Culture. One of the things that we continue to encourage people is go ahead and download this show and take it with you. Yeah, you can download it. Go on to Spotify, or you can go on to Apple Podcasts and check out the show. I'd love for you to go and take it home with you. But don't be selfish about it. Give it to a friend. Give it to a friend and say, hey, you guys got to listen to these two guys. They're just really talking about things that make a lot of sense. And all you have to do is go over to Spotify and go over to Apple Podcasts and Google in their search engine Christ and Culture Show. It's Christ and Culture Show. So we're very excited about that. Did you hear about President Trump's new border czar? His name is Tom Homan. And if you've watched any of the the talking heads over like the last couple of years, Tom Homan has come up. And one of the things I think is just kind of exciting about this whole thing was that Tom Homan says he says to people, guess what? I don't care what you think. His job, he is tasked with doing all the deportations. He is tasked with the northern border, the southern border, the sea. I believe he's over that also. This is an AP story, and it says President-elect Donald Trump says Tom Homan, his former acting U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Director, will serve as border czar. In his upcoming incoming administration, a position that is likely to play a key role in Trump's campaign pledge to secure the U.S.-Mexico border and mount a massive deportation operation. This is amazing. He says, I am pleased to announce that the former ICE director and stalwart on border control, Tom Homan, will be joining the Trump administration in charge of our nation's borders. And they put that on Truth Social. Are you a part of Truth Social at all?
No, I'm not.
No, neither am I. I think I was. I got
too many social media pages.
Really. In addition to overseeing the southern and northern borders and maritime and aviation security, Trump said Homan will be in charge of all the deportations of illegal aliens back to their country of origin, a central part of his agenda. Big. This is big. I mean, this is not just a little story. This guy, I don't know. Have you ever seen Tom on TV at all? That he's talking about.
I have. I think that's a great choice.
The guy's a pit bull. He's a pit bull, and I think he's not going to have any problem doing this. I think. So, what do you think has been? So the election happened, and as we thought, the Latino vote was going to loom large in this. But we thought that the Latino vote was going to go by and large to the Democrat Party. But it didn't. And I think Democrats thought, what did we do? We let in 10 million of these folks thinking that it's going to be just fine for us. And Latinos said, and they, by a plurality of them, want mass deportations also. I mean, are you surprised that you would find out that somebody, what's your reaction to finding out that Latinos are going, yeah, send them back?
Well, again, listening to the news, you would just automatically assume that all the Latino vote was going to go to the Democrat Party. But, they have the same concerns as most other people. It's the economy. People are trying to make a living, and we got people walking across here taking, what is already ours. And so, yeah, they've had enough.
Yeah, and you're alluding to the fact that Latinos tend to be Catholic. So they tend to be very. They're like African Americans. They're very conservative. Yeah. They're except for black Americans tend to be liberals, but spiritually wise tend to go to church more than anybody. Latinos the same way. They tend to be all Catholics, but they have a very strong sense of justice, and that especially when they're like one of the things you said something earlier about that if you try to go to another country, you got to pay the bills, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to jump through the hoops, and why should somebody else come into our country thinking that they can't do it? And Latinos said the same thing. They go, look, this is we are Americans. We've been here. We've been here for generations, and these guys are showing up here, and they think they're just going to come in, run roughshod and bring, this, that, or the other thing. So I'm going to be. I don't think they're going to have as much pushback on this deportation as they think.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Yeah,
Really, no.
I think you're probably.
No, I was gonna have you. You might have a couple of George Soros groups out there, stirring up some trouble. But other than that, I don't think it's gonna be too much problems.
I think that you're probably going to see a lot of people going, "Oh, I'll tell you whether I saw a meme where this guy's. I don't. Did you see the meme about this? There was a guy. He's
No.
crying. He's crying. So it's like a TikTok video, and this guy's going, "Oh," and he's crying. It's a close-up view of his face and stuff like that, and he's crying and the tears and everything else, and he's, just wrecked. And he goes, "Oh, they're gonna mass deportations. Oh, and they're gonna get my mother-in-law, and she lives at blah blah blah, and she's only home." I know this was terrible. It was terrible. I know I shouldn't laugh at it, but he's going, "Oh, she's gonna be taken, and she works from 9 to 5, and she'll be home at such and such a time." Oh my!
That's hilarious.
It was terrible. It was. I know I shouldn't laugh about it, but it was. But it was just terrible. We feel for these folks who are going to be deported, but you cannot break the laws of a sovereign nation and expect to not have some kind of consequence to it. We as Christians, we can sin, but we will never get away from the consequences of those sins. God is not going to say, "Okay, no, because you got pregnant, you're not going to have this baby." It's a consequence. Or if you put your finger in that fire, guess what? Your hand is going to be burned. You're going to have to live with that.
Yeah.
So these folks are, they're looking at church members, and they're trying to pull on our heartstrings and going, "Oh, you're not Christians if you don't let us live in this country." I'm going, we wouldn't be Christians if we allowed you to do this. You're wrong. You're completely wrong on this whole thing. You need to pay the consequences for it.
I feel bad in the sense that many of them feel like they were invited, and I guess they kind of were because that's what the president said, and now a different president said, "Nope, nope, nope, we got to go back." So in a sense, I do feel bad that they have to go back, but come back legally.
Yeah, here's the thing about it. They knew not to come here. They knew what they were doing was wrong, but they knew that they didn't think that anybody would do anything to them. That's what I really truthfully believe. Because now you've got another caravan of folks that are coming to the country. They're on their way right now, a couple of thousand of them. They're trying to get in before Biden gets out of office, because they know when Trump gets into office, they probably will not even have a chance. So they know what they're doing. And these other people do the same thing. They're all thanking Joe Biden. They got the shirts on. "Thank you, Joe Biden. Thank you." And
Wow.
so they know what's going on. Their kids don't know it, though. Their kids don't know it because their kids are innocent. And shame on them as parents to put your kids in a position like this, because now you're setting them up for disaster. You're setting them up for failure also. So, and it all came as a result of these last 4 years. Never in American history has this happened. I did see a report there, and I know I'm talking a lot here, but in the early phases of this mass deportation, it will probably rival what President Obama did, because President Obama deported about 3 million people during his reign. And so this is not unheard of. He was up with the same things, and he started rounding people up and getting rid of them. So, and I don't think people really remember that that's something that happened, but it definitely did. Yeah. So we only got a couple more minutes left, but I want to get to just a couple more stories. One is this very interesting story, and it's about Kamala Harris and the amount of money they spent. This was just crazy. The story goes like this, and it says that Kamala Harris This is the Washington Times. It says Harris campaign steered donations to Hollywood. Their star appearances soaked up $20 million. My gosh, $20 million that they soaked up. And here's the deal. Oprah Winfrey, who is a billionaire, soaked up $1 million. They had, what's the lady's name? Not she's the singer Beyonce. Beyonce, I think she got like $13 million. I mean, stars were coming out of the woodwork, just soaking up that money. So that even though Kamala Harris raised $1 billion for a campaign, they overspent it by $20 million because of the star-studded the events and stuff like that they had. And now people are upset. They're saying you should have spent that money on things that mattered instead of letting your friends come in and do a concert, and they were getting paid. Not a little bit. Lady Gaga was another one. All these people came in and they go, "Yes, Kamala, we love you. Give me some money." And so are these the kind of friends that are good for America, or are they just freeloading?
That's exactly how it works. that is the pattern of how it works. Come on, friends, I'll pay you. You get 2 million, you get 1 million, you get 13 million. Come on, let's do this thing. And people are hurting.
Yeah.
But that's just how the pattern is, with certain groups of people in this country. That's just how it works. And so not only that, you have the people who are focused on this thing looking for a handout. It's perpetuating itself. So you see their friends getting paid. I didn't do much. I want to get paid too. So it just kind of perpetuates, and it's really sad because we should be working hard for whatever it is that we're doing, and not looking for handouts. Now, do we get in positions to where we need help? Absolutely, but it's not lifetime. Right? And unless it's a pattern.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's just a pattern that's been established.
It's not. So I was doing a study just recently, and it was talking about how those in positions of power, New Testament, that they lowered it over the people. They walked through the Pharisees, the Sadducees. They walked through the midst of everybody, and they go, "Oh, look, I'm a Pharisee. I'm a Sadducee. I'm a member of the Sanhedrin. Oh, you're just common people." And they lord over people their positions. In America, it's a little different. What they do is they do an Oprah Winfrey for everybody. You almost said it. I thought you were going to say, "You get $1 million, and you get $1 million, and you get $1 million," and they just pass out the money for the people. They do not respect their positions of power. They've been given a position of power, almost like a priest at the temple. They've been given a position to serve the people, and they abused it. And they abused it in such a way that they didn't care. I mean, they didn't care. Kamala Harris raised $1 billion, not $1 million, $1 billion. And what did she spend it on? I mean, she spent it on everything. What could she have spent it on? Because I know 20 million of it went to her buddies who don't need the money, and that's the scary part about it. And so when we find out that she loses in a landslide, it's almost like the Lord said, "See, I told you. You're now you know what it's like." Because Donald Trump, I think, only raised like 300 and something million, but she raised like 4 times as much, 3 times as much, and still was in debt at the end of the thing. Man, this is a scary thing. So, anyways, we're done. I know we had one more story. We had one more thing we could have gone through, but maybe we'll do that next time because it's just kind of it's kind of a moot point. Pastor Tommy, so I know that you were praying about the election. Do you think, in closing, that those on the left who lost, will they have learned their lesson, or do you think they're just going to continue to play the same card?
I think some will, because over the last several months, we have seen some people that say that they were never going to vote for Trump end up voting for him. And so some will wake up, um, but not all. I don't think that that ideology or that movement will stop, but I think some will um, wake up, so to speak, and you know, kind of get it together.
Well, I am hoping so too because so right now it's all a bunch of finger pointing. Now you did this, but you did that, you know, and I'm going. You guys don't get it yet. You just don't get it.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was your policies over the entire 4 years that got it. It had nothing to do. Joe Biden probably shouldn't have been running. Yes, okay, but that being said, that does not wipe away 4 years of just ugly in America. It's just ugly
yeah.
policies, bad, and there's not enough finger pointing to go around. There really isn't. So, anyways, Pastor Chami, thank you once again for being a part of the broadcast. We will see you again next week. Amen.
All right, amen.
All right. Well, thank you so much again. And thank you, folks, for being a part of the broadcast. This has been Christ and Culture, the show. I want to thank you all for being a part of it. And once again, I want to encourage you, if this has been something that has blessed your socks off, that go ahead and download it. Go to YouTube, download the video, or go to Spotify or to Apple Podcasts and get the audio and take it with you. Share it with your friends, folks. Don't just keep it to yourself. Share it with your friends. Let them know Christ and Culture is so cool. And also, if you'd like to go to godstream.org, you can check it out and check out all of our shows on godstream.org. Once again, folks, this has been Pastor Sherman Ray for Christ and Culture. If you'd like to write to us at christandcultureshow@gmail.com. It's christandcultureshow@gmail.com. Thank you once again for being a part of the broadcast. We will see you again next week for more Christ and Culture Show. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.